Hi everyone. On the 22nd of October 2020, the Irish Government enacted Statutory Instrument 448 of 2020, the purpose of which is to restrict the rights of citizens to travel freely within and outside of the state, to compel most businesses to close, and to restrict in a fundamental way the most basic human rights of every citizen in this country. Once again, I start this video by confirming that the initial lockdown period was advertised as lasting only 4 days, from the 8th to the 12th of April. Many of us knew at that time that if we relinquished our freedoms with so little thought, the consequences would be catastrophic. This current level 5 lockdown is the result of many months of propaganda by the Irish government, the health services and the media. Do not expect anything to change as regards the severity of lockdowns while you continue to remain silent as to their detrimental effects. If you have not already done so, now is the time to speak out. Let's now take a look at the statutory instrument. The regulation is split over 14 sections as follows. Section 1 confirms that the regulation comes into operation on the 22nd day of October 2020. Section 2 confirms that the regulation shall remain in operation until the 9th of November 2020, unless Part 3 of the Health Preservation Act is extended past the 9th of November, which we expect it will be, in which case this statutory instrument 448 is said to expire on the first day of December 2020. That said, it should be noted that the Irish Government intends to extend Part 3 of the Health Preservation Act until June 2021. Meaning that restrictions around travel can be easily amended and implemented until at least this time. Section 3 revokes Statutory Instrument 442 of 2020. This was the statutory instrument that was used to implement the Level 3 lockdown nationwide. Section 4 is the definition section. Definitions of note include applicable person. This is a person whose place of residence is located within a relevant geographical location. This currently means anyone who is resident in the state of Ireland. Essential retail outlet, a list of which is included at Part 1 of the schedule to this regulation. Essential services, a list of which is included at Part 2 of the schedule to this regulation. Household, this means a person who lives alone or two or more people who live together. Relevant household, this means a household consisting of A person including a vulnerable person who lives alone, B, one or more vulnerable persons who live together, or C, one or more vulnerable persons and one other person other than a vulnerable person, all of whom live together. Relevant event. This means an event held for social, recreational, exercise, cultural, entertainment or community reasons, but does not include an event to be held in a dwelling, a wedding, reception, a sporting event or a training event. Substantial meal. This means a meal that you might expect to be served as a main midday or evening meal, and that in all the circumstances it is reasonable to charge €9 in respect of. Section 5 deals with restrictions of movements of applicable persons and provides that an applicable person shall not travel from his or her residence without a reasonable excuse. Section 5.2 sets out what is considered a reasonable excuse for the purposes of travel and includes A, for work, but only where your job is part of an essential retail outlet or essential service and where it is not practicable to carry out such work from home. B, the performance of services as an office holder. C, farming. D, to attend school, college or other training facility. E, to accompany another person in your home or a vulnerable person to a school, college or other training facility. F, childcare. G, to attend a medical or dental appointment or to accompany a person in your home or a vulnerable person to such appointment. H, seek essential medical, dental or health assistance or accompany anyone else in your home or a vulnerable person. I, donate blood. J, seek veterinary assistance. K, attend to vital family matters. Note that this is a very broad excuse that could facilitate your travel for a multitude of reasons. L, attend a funeral or a wedding. M, fulfill a legal obligation such as attending court or having documents certified by a solicitor. N, to give effect to custody arrangements for children. O, in the case of a priest or a minister of religion to lead worship remotely, minister to the sick or conduct funerals or wedding services. P, to move to another residence. Q, to return to the person's place of residence. Or, where the person is not ordinarily resident in the state, to leave the state. S, to provide emergency assistance, avoid injury or illness, or to escape a harm. T, to go to an essential retail outlet. The full list of essential retail outlets is set out in Schedule Part 1 and includes the following. 1. Outlets selling food or beverages on a takeaway basis. 2. Markets. 3. Outlets selling products necessary for the essential upkeep of homes and businesses. So presumably this is the likes of plumbing stores, lighting stores and IT stores. 4. Pharmacies. 5. Outlets selling health or medical goods. 6. Petrol stations and heating fuel providers. 7. Pet shops. 8. Dry cleaners. 9. Banks, post offices and credit unions. 10. Outlets selling safety supplies. 11. Hardware outlets. 12. Garages that carry out car or bicycle repair or maintenance. 13. The following outlets insofar as they offer services on an emergency basis only. Outlets providing hearing test services. Outlets selling office products and services to people working from home. Outlets selling electrical, IT and telephone sales. 14. Any other retail outlet that operates an online or phone service for ordering goods for collection at the retail outlet. Note that this is a new essential retail outlet that was not included in Statutory Instrument 121 of 2020, which came out in April of this year. So this will facilitate all businesses who can offer an online service to continue trading. So expect to see massive queues for collection of goods outside the likes of Smith's toy stores coming up to Christmas. 15. Outlets selling food or beverages. A. On a takeaway basis. B. Staff canteens, so this allows the Dáil restaurant to remain open. C. Hotels insofar as they sell food or beverages for consumption on the premises to persons who are residents of the hotel on the 21st day of October. So this might cover leisure breaks. And guests who are travelling after the 22nd of October, other than for the purposes of social, recreational, cultural or tourist purposes. So no holiday hotels after the 22nd of October. And hotels providing accommodation to homeless persons or persons from direct provision or persons who are unable to reside in their usual place of residence due to reasons related to Covid-19. This is also new. And finally, hotels open to guests attending a wedding. U. To go to an essential retail outlet for a vulnerable person. V. To access an essential service. The full list of essential services is set out at the Schedule Part 2 and includes 1. Agriculture, horticulture, forestry, fishing, animal welfare and related services. 2. Manufacturing. 3. Supply, repair and installation of machinery and equipment. 4. Electricity, gas, water, sewage and waste management. 5. Construction and development. So this was not included in Statutory Instrument 121 of 2020, which came out in April of this year. 6. Wholesale and retail trade. 7. Transport, storage and communication. 8. Accommodation and food services. 9. Information and communications. Note that Part B of this service will likely mean that any YouTube journalist is classified as providing an essential service. 10. Financial and legal activities. Note that Part C of this service allows me as a practicing barrister to move freely around the country. 11. Professional, scientific and technical activities. 12. Rental and leasing activities. 13. Administrative and support services. 14. Public administration, emergency services and defence. 15. Human health and social work activities. 16. Education. 17. Community and voluntary services. And 18. Diplomatic missions and consular affairs. V. Access an essential service or assist any other person residing in the person's place of residence or a vulnerable person to access an essential service. W. In the case of a person who is part of a paired household, travel to an event in a dwelling in accordance with Regulation 6. X. Exercise within a 5-kilometre radius of the person's place of residence. Or Y. Attend the offices of a planning authority. For assistance, I've included in the description box of this video a link to a form that allows you to select your reason for travel from the list of reasonable excuses mandated by the Irish government. I would suggest that you bring this form with you in order that you have all reasonable excuses to hand at all times when travelling. Note that this Section 5 is a penal provision. meaning a Class C fine, which is up to €2,500, or a term of imprisonment not exceeding 6 months may be imposed on summary conviction for any breach. So make sure you have your reasonable excuse ready every time you travel. Section 6 deals with restrictions on events in private dwellings and provides that you may only organise an event in your home for social or recreational purposes if you ensure the persons attending the event are from your own household or from a household that your household has paired with. Section 6 is not noted as being a penal provision. Section 7 confirms that a relevant household, so this is a household consisting of A person including a vulnerable person who lives alone. Note that you can find the definition for a vulnerable person at Section 4 of this regulation. B, one or more vulnerable persons who live together. Or C, one or more vulnerable persons and one other person other than a vulnerable person, all of whom live together. So a relevant household may pair with another household who may or may not be a relevant household for the purposes of attending social or recreational events in each other's homes. The purpose of this Section 7 is to allow family members visit elderly relatives, in my view. So when you see the inclusion of this type of relaxation of the rules, you must realise that this relaxation has only come about due to public pressure. This means that we, the people, hold our future in our hands, as the Irish government will bow to pressure from the public if it is consistent and substantial enough. Section 8 deals with restrictions on certain events and funerals and provides that you may only organise a relevant event, with a relevant event being an event held for social, recreational, exercise, cultural, entertainment or community reasons, but excluding events held in private homes, wedding receptions, sporting events or training events. So you may only organise a relevant event if the event is to take place outdoors and if the outdoor event is attended by persons only from 2 different households. Section 8 further confirms that you may only have 25 persons in attendance at a funeral excluding the priest. Section 8 is noted as being a penal provision, meaning that any breach of this section could expose the organiser of such events to a fine of up to €2,500 and or 6 months imprisonment. Section 9 deals with wedding receptions and provides that the maximum number of persons that may attend a wedding reception is 25 persons, noting that this 25 number does not apply to private homes. Section 9 is not noted as being a penal provision. Section 10 deals with restrictions on sporting events. I do not propose to go into the detail of this section, except to note this section is not noted as being a penal provision. Section 11 deals with restrictions on training events and provides that training events may be held provided persons attending the event are organised into groups of no more than 15 persons and the groups do not commingle and the training event is held outdoors. Section 11 is not noted as being a penal provision. Section 12 deals with the closure of certain businesses and services and provides that a specified person, so this is the occupier, manager, person in charge or controller of the premises. So the specified person will not permit members of the public or workers to access businesses or services which are not essential retail outlets or essential services. So the full list of essential retail outlets and essential services can be found at Schedule 1. So it is this Section 12 that has resulted in the closure of a significant number of businesses in the country. This Section 12 is noted as being a penal provision. So if any business or service not on the list of essential retail outlets or essential services opens their business, they may be subject to a fine of up to €2,500 and or 6 months imprisonment. Section 13 sets out the requirements in relation to hotels and other services and provides that a specified person, so this is the person who occupies, manages, controls or is otherwise in charge of the premises. So the specified person shall ensure that 1. Members of the public are not permitted to access or remain on a relevant premises. And in this case, a relevant premises means a hotel insofar as they sell food or beverages for consumption on the premises. 2. Persons who are residents of the hotel on the 21st day of October. So this might include those attending leisure breaks. And guests who are travelling after the 22nd of October other than for the purposes of social, recreational, cultural or tourist purposes. So no hotel breaks after the 22nd of October. and hotels providing accommodation to homeless persons or persons from direct provision, or persons who are unable to reside in their usual place of residence due to reasons related to COVID-19, and finally, hotels open to guests attending a wedding. This section is noted as being a penal provision. 2. Relevant guests. So this means persons staying at a hotel or similar accommodation under the circumstances specified under point 1 above. So relevant guests who are not resident in the relevant premises during the relevant period, this means after 11:30 p.m, may only be allowed to remain on the premises for the purposes of ordering, collecting food or non-alcoholic beverages. I would assume the purpose of this is to make sure that those attending weddings in hotels who are not staying in the hotel cannot drink in the hotel after 11:30 p.m. This section is noted as being a penal provision. 3. Relevant guests who are residents of the hotel are not, after 11:30 p.m, permitted to order alcohol. This section is noted as being a penal provision. 4. Relevant guests are not permitted to order alcohol at the hotel unless at the same time they order and consume a substantial meal. This section is noted as being a penal provision. 5. The specified person. So this is the person who occupies, manages, controls or is otherwise in charge of the premises, must make a record of the time and date that the relevant guest accesses the hotel and take the guest's name and phone number. This section is noted as being a penal provision. 6. The specified person must retain and make available the records noted in point 5 above for inspection by the Gardaí and HSE for 28 days. This section is noted as being a penal provision. 7. Guests are required by law to provide to the specified person the information requested by the specified person. This section is not noted as being a penal provision. 8. The specified person must ensure that members of the public are not allowed to access the hotel or similar accommodation after 11:30 p.m, except to order or collect food or non-alcoholic beverages. This section is not noted as being a penal provision. Section 14 deals with data protection and confirms that the collection, processing and retention of personal data referred to in Section 13 is lawful. The restrictions on human rights set out in this regulation are on par with those enacted in April of this year, meaning that they are the most intrusive erosion of fundamental freedoms since the creation of the Irish state. To put this into perspective, let's see what others have said about these laws. Senator Michael McDowell said moving to a level 4 or 5 lockdown would create untold misery, additional deaths, huge psychiatric and psychological damage, irreparable economic and social harm, and would be futile. TD Michael McNamara said the new laws are the most draconian restrictions to rights in the history of the state and called a return to full lockdown an act of tyranny. TD Michael Ring said he fears the country is becoming a police state under the new lockdown rules. And TD Matty McGrath told the Dáil that the laws are designed to persecute and destroy the very energy and vigour of the Irish people. As you know, I organised a GoFundMe some time ago to provide you with an update on this. I confirm that I have sought Senior Counsel's opinion on the mechanism and steps to initiate a successful legal challenge against the COVID-19 restrictions. I will say that I have been frustrated that I have been unable up to this point to initiate legal proceedings for many reasons that I will not go into. However, the extension of Part 3 of the Health Preservation Act, passed the 9th of November, will lend significant weight to any legal action initiated after this date. So know that we are working hard in the background to get a challenge underway, and I thank you for all of your support and donations to date, because it is your hard-earned money that will make this challenge possible. I will provide you with a further update as soon as I can, but know that we intend to initiate legal action very soon. Thanks for listening.